We're going to generate the timetable generator functionality. So first we're going to log into an admin account, and at the top you can see that there is a generate timetable button or generate timetable navigation bar. So click that, we're redirected to the generate timetable page. And if you click the generate timetable, we'll generate all the new timetables and it will clear any previously generated ones. So this one creates it based on current students' subject preferences. So if you go on students, we can see the subject preferences based on these. And we can see currently there are only 2 classes that are manually created. However, when you press the generate timetable button, you click this, you can see 5 classes were created, 20 enrollments, so 20 students were enrolled into different classes. All subjects were successfully allocated and all students were successfully placed. So this is a successful generation. So now that we've clicked this, we can now go in, press view all classes. We can see that the previous classes, Maths A and English A, are there, and all the other auto classes represent the classes that are automatically generated, and we can see that they were all created. Now we can go to the students page and we can see we can check their timetables and see if they've actually been enrolled. So we're going to go, let's say, to James, or let's say Jade Martin. Go on here, sorry, we go on their timetable and we can see, oh, they were enrolled into these 2 classes. George Taylor. So all these students were enrolled into classes, more or less, for which are depending on their preferences. So some were enrolled into English or Maths, some were enrolled into History. All depends on the student subject preference, and all these classes are valid. So now let's look at the teachers and their timetables, because of course they've now been added to new classes, and we can see that the teacher timetables have updated after the auto generation. So not only have the students been enrolled into the classes, but the teachers timetables have also been adjusted with respect to what's been created. And you can see there's some more. James Wilson, you can see Emily Brooks. All the teachers, their classes they've been assigned to their classes and their timetables have changed. Now, let's try clear what happens when none of the students have any subject preferences. So here, Adam, then Bella, then Carlos, then Diana, then Ethan, then Fatima, George, Hannah, Isaac, and Jade Martin. You can see there are no preferences. So when we generate a timetable, due to there being no student subject preferences, 0 classes are created and no enrollments are created as neither, and it says that all subjects are successfully allocated and all students are successfully placed, but this is because the students did not want to be placed and there was no subjects to be placed in because there was no student subject preference. So we can see here that successfully nothing was created because there was no preference, and this shows that the timetable generation clearly relies on subject preference. I'm going to display what happens when you try to generate a timetable with no active teachers. So here, these students now have their preferences still. So you can see they have all their preferences and these still all exist. All of them, or at least like all of them do. So now we go on to the teachers, and we first need to make sure they aren't enrolled into any classes or that the classes have nothing. So we have to delete the classes first. Once we delete the classes, we go to the teachers and we deactivate all of them. So deactivate all the teachers, and what you can see is now they've all been deactivated, they're all inactive. So when we try to generate a timetable, you will see that 0 enrollments are created, and it shows why the following subjects couldn't be fully scheduled. Clear list showing, of course, 0 classes are created, enrollments created 0, and the following subjects could not be fully allocated. So yeah, and it shows which students, it shows why the following students could not be enrolled in one or more subjects. And you can see here, of course, nothing has worked because all the teachers were inactive. So there was no class to place the students in or to create. There. I'm going to demonstrate what happens when you try to generate a timetable with no available rooms. So all our teachers are still active. As you can see here, they are all active. Our students still have their subject preferences. So nothing. So I revert to the changes from before, and now I'm going to make all the rooms inactive. So when we deactivate all of them, what you can see is that, oh, we can't do this because we need to first delete this room, because of course you can't deactivate a room if it's assigned to a class. And what you can see is when we try to do the timetable generator, again, like when all the teachers were made inactive, the classes created was 0, enrollment created 0, and you can see the following subjects that cannot be fully scheduled and which students cannot be placed. Of course, because there are no rooms to generate a class. There's no rooms to assign to the generated classes, so therefore nothing could be created. So, and it shows a reason why. I'm going to demonstrate what happens when all students have their subject preferences, the teachers are active, the rooms are active, however, the rooms have a capacity of, let's say, 1. So let's say when they have very small capacities, 1, 1, 1, you can see they are all active. So, and you can see the teachers here are all active, students still have the subject preferences. If I've got a random 1 or any, they all have their preferences. So now, let's say I try to generate, given that all the rooms now have a capacity of 1, you can see what happens. And here you can see 0 classes are created. The enrollments created are 0 as well, and the following subjects could not be fully scheduled because there's not enough valid teacher, room, or time slot combinations. So, of course, no students are unplaced because no generated classes could be created. It requires the rooms to have more capacity, as classes will not be created if there aren't enough places for them. So you can see nothing was created, given that the rooms had no size. I'm going to display what happens when we create a student with no subject preference and we see what happens to that student after generating all the classes. So as of right now, we have all of these current students. They have their subject preferences, we have active rooms, we have teachers that are all active, and they have everything that's valid. So now I'm going to create a student. Let's say create a new student. Let's say Isaac test, contact whatever. I'll add Isaac test, and let's say let's say I do this, and now I go in the subject preferences. They of course have none. When I generate the timetable, what you'll come to see is 5 students, 5 classes created, 20 enrollments created, all subjects were successfully allocated, and all students were successfully placed. However, what you'll see is in all these classes that we created, Isaac will not be present because Isaac had no student preference. So in the auto-generated classes such as these, maths auto class, you can see Isaac's not there. English auto class, we can see Isaac is not there. We can see science auto class, Isaac test isn't. Isaac Lee's there, but Isaac test isn't, actually. And we can see that history auto class is there. Isaac Lee again, or Isaac test, you can see Isaac test is another individual. But yeah, you can see that because Isaac test had no student subject preferences, when we do the auto generation timetable, it doesn't even account Isaac because Isaac has no preferences, so it has nothing to assign it to. That's why it says that all of the classes were successfully created and all the students were successfully allocated, as Isaac isn't even considered, considering it has no preferences. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate how, if you have auto-generated classes, when you click the generation button again, or you click the generate timetable button again, the original classes are deleted. So what we can do to test this is we can see the view students in Maths Auto Class 1. So in Maths Auto Class 1, you can see Adam Smith and Diana Patel. Let's remove them. So let's go to Adam Smith, and we're gonna view his timetable. Let's unenroll him from Maths Auto Class 1, and we'll go to Diana, and we'll unenroll them from Maths. Sorry, we'll unenroll them from Maths Auto Class 1, And what we can do is when we generate the timetable, right now we can see Maths Auto Class 1 will have Fatima Hassan, Jade Martin. And the way we know that a new timetable is generated, of course, it's going to be the same one because when we clear it, the same students, same preference are there. So the most best order is going to be copied again in this case because where we've made no changes. But what you can see is when we generate the timetable again, everything's been successfully allocated. When we go in Maths Auto Class 1, all the new students are added back. So that's how you know that the old classes were deleted and they are remade now. Now, I'm going to show that we've also seen here that the manual classes are not deleted when you do regenerate a timetable. Maths A and English A are untouched, whereas all the auto classes are deleted and then remade again. Now, when you do press generate timetable and you click it and you clear the generated timetable, what you can see is when you clear it, anything that we just created would be now deleted. But if you go back, you can see that the manual classes were not affected, but also after clicking clear generated timetable, it does indeed delete the generated classes. So now we can see that it's been clearly cleared and that the manual classes remain. I'm going to show what happens when the conditions are not perfect and we generate a timetable. So let's say we go to the teachers and we're going to go to James Wilson. We're going to uncheck all the days apart from Monday, and we will make him work from 09 to 10, let's say. So now James Wilson can only teach 1 hour, one maths class on Monday, and we have 6 students wanting maths across here, 6. But what you'll see is that what you can notice is there's only 5 spots in that class because of course Maths A James Wilson room 1 has only 5 spots. Room 1 only has 5 spots as a capacity. So now when you generate a timetable, you can see classes are created for 4 classes are created in 18 enrollments. However, the following subjects could not be fully scheduled. Maths, because there's not enough valid teacher rooms, time slot combinations. So both Carlos Rivera and Hannah White could not be allocated as there was no space without the clash. So you can see that 4 classes are created, 18 enrollments. However, some students could not be allocated as maths ran out of space and no other classes were available.